2, we're going to read this section called History of Education. It says, have you ever wondered what schools were like long ago? Step into a time machine and let's go back about 2,400 years to see what education was like at that time. So we're talking about ancient schools. Ancient schools are schools that were really, 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 really old. That's what the word ancient means. And then we're going to talk about how early American schools started. Then the first public school, that's school for anybody that could go. More schools and schools today. Okay, let's go back to our ancient schools. In the ancient communities of Greece and Rome, many men enjoyed being teachers and sharing their ideas. They gave speeches to people in the community. In some communities, the sons of wealthy families went to school in the temple. Some families hired their own teachers. Many boys learned a trade. They could then make a living using their new skills. Back then, girls were usually not allowed to go to school. They learned how to take care of a home and a family instead. American Indians who lived in North America in ancient times taught their children by telling stories. Storytelling was an important way to answer children's questions about the world around them. They used stories to teach children how to behave. Boys also learned to hunt and girls learned to gather or grow food. Now let's travel to the 1600s when our country was just beginning. Early American schools. The Pilgrims came to America from England in 1620. They believed children should be educated, but different children got different kinds of education. There were schools for children of wealthy families. These children often studied history, math, and Latin. Some, go to page 3, schools were only for girls. They learned how to read, write, and take care of the home. Some schools were not Some schools were not what we would think of as schools at all. Many young people went to work with adults who taught them a skill. They learned a trade like candle making, blacksmithing, and leather tanning. For many poor enslaved children, there was no school at all. The first public school. So you guys also go to a public school, meaning that anybody can come to this school as long as they live near the school. The first public school in America opened on April 23, 1635 in Boston, Massachusetts. The city used some of its own money to pay for the school. Reverend John Cotton started the Boston School. He wanted the city to have a school like the ones in England. Philemon Pormore was the first teacher. Classes were held in the teacher's house for many years. He taught them many subjects, even Greek and Latin. Today, students can still attend Boston Latin School. They can study in the same rooms where many famous people went to school. Samuel Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and John Hancock were all students there. Back to the time machine. This time, set the dial for 1852. Why then? Keep reading. More schools. Over time, people in the communities began to realize how important schools were. Many cities and towns began building schools. In 1852, Massachusetts was the first state to pass a law that required children to attend school. Other states passed laws like that too. There were still many different types of schools, but more and more children were getting an education. One more trip in our social studies weekly time machine will bring us home. Schools today. Today, every child in America has to go to school. It is the law. Students and parents have many choices. Most schools offer exciting ways for students to learn. Of course, you study reading, writing, and math, but many students can also study different languages, music, art, dance, and computer science. There are all kinds of clubs and activities to join. Students may play on a sport team. Schools help students learn to be good citizens of the community. Some families teach their children at home. They have to work very hard to pass the same tests as students who go to school, building to learn.